welcome to Grandma's YouTube. I thought we would read a story today, a little bit more Marge. But first of all, I want you all to have a look at my hair. Because we can't go to the hairdressers because of the camping at home situation, Pappy cut my hair. I think he did not a bad job. I know it's very short, but I like it like that. I think Pappy did not a bad job. What do you think? Anyway, today I'm going to read Marge in Charge. I hope you have all had a really lovely day. Played lots of games, played outside, done all sorts of things. Okay, so today I am reading Marge at Large in School. Let's see what she gets up to today. Hi, Jemima Button here, with my little brother Jakey Pants. There are lots of things that Jake and I don't agree on. Like Jake prefers the shallow end of the pool and I like to swim in the deep end. And I always eat sweets slowly to make them last, and he gobbles them up in one go. I know some children just like that. One of them eats things a bit slow to make them last, and one of them gobbles them all up really fast. But we both love to sit by the square window that looks down over our driveway. We call it the spying window. Sometimes we spy on the neighbours walking their dog, and sometimes we count how many green bins there are on our street. But right now, we are waiting for someone. Marge, our royal babysitter and favourite grown-up, after Mummy and Daddy, is coming to take us to school today. We are going to jump out and surprise her. Even though it's 7 o'clock on Monday morning and I have PE after lunch, I am still so excited because I love Marge. I love Marge as much as I hate PE. I think PE is sport. I'm the third slowest runner in my class. As Marge's mint green Mini Cooper screeches into the driveway, my heart is racing. In position, Jakey shouts. We run downstairs and Jakey Pants and I hide behind the front door. I have a sofa cushion as a weapon and he has a pillow. Our puppy Archie is with us as well, and he keeps panting loudly. Shh, I tell him, or you'll have to hide somewhere else. There's Archie, the little puppy. Marge can't know that we are here. We wait, holding our breath. Her footsteps get closer. Ding dong! That's the doorbell. Jake and I squeeze further back against the wall. The door handle turns. Marge steps into the doorway. Hello, she calls to the empty hallway. Jakey and I shout, attack! And we both jump onto Marge. I cling onto her back and Jakey throws his pillow first and then grabs her leg. Archie barks and wags his tail in excitement. Ah! Screams Marge in surprise as she flies forward onto the carpet. I wrestle her, but she is so small and quick that she manages to roll away from us like a ninja. It's Marge, the tickle monster, she calls and begins tickling my chest and then Jakey's feet. I throw a pillow at her head, but she ducks. We can't stop laughing and Archie is yapping at us all mangled up in a heap. Kids, get off March right now. Daddy sounds a little cross as he passes through the hallway on the way to his office. Jakey and I spring to our feet as Mummy appears in the hallway. Sorry, Marge, Mummy apologises. She makes a stern, we'll talk about this later face at us. But Marge is smiling as Mummy helps her to her feet. Marge is wearing a blue skirt with a beret, which is a kind of French hat that makes adults look a bit silly. The list of things to remember is on the kitchen table. Mummy says, grabbing Daddy's glasses for him, which he always forgets. As Mummy gives Jake and me a quick kiss goodbye, she says, remember to be polite and say please and thank you when Marge takes care of you. And no more wrestling with the babysitter, says Mummy. Look, there they are, all wrestling and tickling. Look at Jemima up on Marge's skinny little leg. There's Daddy spying them wrestling. They look like they're having so much fun. I don't think Mummy and Daddy realise that Marge is so much fun and that she'd probably love a big wrestle. Have you seen my glasses, Daddy calls. I have them, Mummy replies as they both head out the door. Bye, kids. Have fun at school, our parents call as the door slams. We run back upstairs and wave them goodbye from the spying window. When their car is as small as an ant, Marge turns on us. Bonjour, she sings and pulls her French beret out, and out tumbles her rainbow hair. Look, looks like she's got it in plaits today. Holy hamburger, it is plaited into a million tiny coloured braids with little bows on the end. Bonjour means hello in French. Now let's take a squiz at the list, says Marge. I fetch the list and bring Mummy's fountain pen too, as I know that Marge likes to add new rules of her own. The list says 1. Breakfast. 2. Pack school lunches. 3. Jake must wear new school shoes. 4. Drop off at school at 8 o'clock. What's for breakfast? Marge asks, swanning into the kitchen. I'm feeling a little peckish. What are you both making me? A hop to it? Jakey looks at me with one eyebrow raised. I giggle. Marge, you are the grown-up. You're supposed to be making breakfast for us, I explain. Oh, Marge is surprised. I've never made breakfast before, she says. The Queen's cook, Mabel, used to bring me my breakfast in bed every morning. Marge says, I am curious. What did Mabel make you, I ask. Royal pancakes, Marge sniffs. Ooh, with extra syrupy syrup. I love pancakes, Jake says. Oh, and I'm hungry. My tummy is grumbling too. What are we going to do about breakfast? I am sure that I can make you a pancake, Marge announces confidently. How hard can it be? If Mabel can do it, so can Marge. She takes Mummy's pen and adds royal pancakes to the first rule. Marge's marvellous pancakes with extra syrupy syrup coming right up, she says. Marge begins by rummaging around in the kitchen in search of a pan and a bowl. You really don't have a butler or a chef to help me? Asks Marge after a while. I giggle and I shake my head. I wish we didn't have to go to school today. Spending time with Marge is so much fun. I help Marge and together we mix some eggs and butter and flour and milk into a batter. And Jake whisks it up. Then Marge turns on the stove. Back away, little servants, Marge hollers as flames lick the giant pan. I don't want to burn down the kingdom. Jake and I step away as Marge pours the entire mixture into the pan. Uh-oh. I think you only meant to pour a little bit in for each pancake. I'm actually making crepes, which is French for pancakes. They taste even more delicious, Marge exclaims. I love pancakes and I love crepes. I know a little boy who also loves pancakes and crepes. Don't you want to use the spatula thing that flips the pancakes? I squint at Marge. That's what Mummy uses. Nonsense. Mabel, the royal cook, never needed to rely on fancy utensils. I'm just going to toss this into the air like this. Here she is with her fry pan. Uh-oh. And here is one very big pancake. Marge grabs the pan with both hands and tosses the pancake high into the air with both hands, and then she tosses it again. Jake and I watch as it flies up, up, up and sticks splat to the ceiling. Uh-oh. Call the guards, shut the drawbridge. We have a runaway pancake, shouts Marge urgently. I don't know what to think. The pancake is stuck on the ceiling and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. I don't think Jemima's very happy about that. I think we should call the fire department, Jakey suggests. They have a big ladder that we can climb up to reach it. That's silly, I say. The fire department can only come for emergencies. This is most definitely an emergency, Marge says gravely. We all stare at the pancake for a few moments, just thinking. Then Marge suggests that we should wait for it to drop back down into our mouths and catch it, the same way that Archie, the dog, catches his ball. But after we have waited for a while with our mouths wide open, my jaw is beginning to ache. I'm so hungry and tired, complains Jake. Look at them, with their mouths open, waiting for the pancake to drop down. Maybe it's still cooking, Marge offers hopefully. On the ceiling, says Jemima. Just when we are close to giving up and getting some cereal instead, gravity gets the better of the pancake and plop! Down it falls and it lands right in the middle of Marge's head. Plop! Breakfast is served. Tuck in, says Marge. We grab forks and Marge pours syrup all over her head. No, really? And we eat the pancake and the syrupy syrup straight off the top of her head. Oh my gosh. We eat it right off her head in big gooey gulps. Jake is so hungry he ends up gobbling up half the pancake. So I have to stop him before he eats any of Marge's multicoloured hair. Here, Jakey grabs Marge's beret. I think you need to put this back on your hair because it looks very sticky. Marge reads rule number 2 out loud in a French accent. Pack the school lunches. I show her where Mummy keeps our lunchboxes in the fridge. She looks suspiciously at the sandwiches, sniffing the bread and cheese. In the end, she decides that they are delicious and healthy, but we must have some treats too. So she fills the rest of our lunchbox with chocolate sprinkles from the baking drawer. I grin and Jake claps his hands. Marge is in charge, says Jake. Marge consults the list again. Now for rule 3. Jake, Mummy says you have to wear your new school shoes. Jakey looks furious. His little face has turned red like a traffic light. I hate wearing shoes, he yells. All shoes? Asks Marge. Yes, replied Jakey. He looks determined too. So Marge runs out of the room and returns 5 minutes later with a big brown sack that she has collected from the hallway closet. Ta-da, she says, it's Super Marge to the rescue. She turns the sack upside down and pours out a mountain of shoes. There are hiking boots, roller skates, clown shoes, flippers, stilts, skis, and even a pair of ice skates. Do any of these look fun? She asks my little brother. I want to wear roller skates, Jake says, grinning. Marge laces them up. But I don't know how to roller skate, confesses Jake. Don't worry, Marge replies. They can teach you at school. Let's bring your school shoes too, just in case, I say sensibly, packing them in my rucksack. From what I've heard, they can teach you everything at school, Marge says. I would love to go myself one day. Didn't you have to go to school when you were a kid? Jemima asks Marge. Marge pauses to think for a moment, then curls into Daddy's armchair, which I'm beginning to think of as Marge's story chair. Are you ready for a story? Marge asks. I love it when Marge tells us stories from her days at the palace. Marge gave up her life as a duchess because she hates rules. If you think living in a normal house has lots of rules, imagine living in a palace. But I don't want too long a story now because we have to go to school soon and I hate being late, says Jemima. Prince Rupert and I had a governess called Lady Morag. A governess is like a teacher for the royal family. She had pointy teeth and she made us practice piano until our fingertips were sore. I think that's Lady Morag, and that might be little Marge when she was a little girl, and that looks like Rupert. And under here it says piano class with governess Lady Morag, but she's crossed out governess and she's put dragon Lady Morag. Oh no, Jakey and I share a look. She sounds terrifying. Poor Marge. One day, Prince Rupert and I had had enough. We tripped Lady Morag into the dungeon and then we locked her in with the rats and the cobwebs. Jake claps his hands with glee, but I think the palace dungeon sounds a bit scary. Marge seems to understand. We let her out again, of course, she explains. It wasn't for long, but she learned her lesson. Lady Morag was much nicer to all the royal children after that. Marge stands up and we head to the door. Suddenly, Jakey's bottom lip starts to quiver and he bursts into tears. I don't want to go to school today, he sniffs. I know why my little brother is upset, so I tell Marge. We are practicing for the school concert first before class. Jakey and I share music rehearsals with some of the other classes on Monday mornings. I like the practices, but Jake says they are lame. He does not enjoy playing the recorder. It's boring, Jakey wails. I'm allergic to music. I give him a hug and I try to cheer him up. You just have to practice the notes. Suddenly, Marge springs to life and leaps onto the coffee table dramatically. By day, I am Magnificent Marge the babysitter, but by night, I am Marge the musician. Wow, Marge is a musician too. I am the star of the Royal Brass Band, Marge boasts. What's a brass band? Asks Jakey, his tears drying up. It's a group of musicians who all play brass instruments, like trumpets and horns and the tuba, explains Marge. Who is in the band with you, I ask, imagining her princess friends. No one, says Marge. I play all the instruments by myself. I like to promenade in the royal gardens wearing all of them around my neck. Jake seems to cheer up at this. Will you come to our school concert rehearsal? Of course, says Marge. Gathering our school bags and she puts her hat back on and phew, finally we are heading off to school. It turns out roller skating is actually very hard. While Marge and I walk along the pavement chatting, Jakey's little legs pump faster and faster on the skates until we reach the top of a very big hill. After that, he whizzes past us and disappears into some bushes extremely fast. Can you see? They're on their way to school. Poor Jakey with his roller skates, because he doesn't know how to roller skate. Marge and I look at each other. We're horrified. This reminds me of the time we lost Jakey at the supermarket when he was very small, I think to myself. He was finally discovered by Daddy lying under the shopping trolley, licking the wheels. Jakey, I call, looking everywhere. I can't see him. My heart is starting to beat quicker and quicker. How will I tell Mummy that we lost Jakey? I start to worry. He's not lost, Marge explains. He's temporarily missing. We hear a scrabbling sound coming from the bushes. Then a brown squirrel darts out, followed by Jakey, who is covered in twigs and leaves. He grins from ear to ear. I love skating, and I didn't even skin my knees. He's tired out though, so I make him take the skates off and wear his school shoes. And we are on our way to school again. At the school gates, our music teacher, Mrs. Potts, is waiting to take the children to our music rehearsal. Marge introduces herself with an elaborate curtsy. How do you do? I was born Marjorie Beauregard Victoria Pontefoy, and I am a duchess. Mrs. Potts seems quite surprised when Marge insists on attending the rehearsal. But after she points out that she is a musician herself in the Royal Brass Band, Mrs. Potts allows her to come. I am slightly nervous about Marge being at school with us. What mischief will she create? On the walk to the music hall, I overhear Marge confiding in Mrs. Potts. I've never been to a school before. My last governess taught me needlepoint and wild flower pressing. You were homeschooled? Asked Mrs. Potts. Palace schooled, corrected Marge. Mrs. Potts' mouth is open in surprise, and Jakey and I can't help but stifle a giggle. Everyone is staring at Marge as we enter the hall, as her beret hat is stuck on at a weird angle from all the syrup, and she is doing an excited little jig on the spot. Mrs. Potts claps her hands twice for quiet, and Jakey and I sit down with Rosie, William, Lukey and Theo. They all remember Marge from Theo's party and they wave hello. Marge stands at the front of the hall with our music teacher. Good morning, girls and boys, says Mrs. Potts. She smiles brightly as we all say good morning back to her, except for Jakey, who is looking nervously at the musical instruments in the corner. There's all the kids waiting for their music lesson. And there's Mrs. Potts and Marge. Meet Jemima and Jake's babysitter. Marjorie Beauregard Victoria Porcupine. Everyone laughs. Oh, sorry, I got that wrong, says Mrs. Potts. Anyway, Marge is going to help us today. Marge takes a bow as if she is being given an award. Then she dances from foot to foot as if the ground is boiling hot, which makes everyone laugh. Mrs. Potts is looking flustered again. Oh no, she says, rummaging through her papers. She turns to Marge. It appears I've left the sheet music behind. I'll be right back. Will you watch the children until I return? Marge nods enthusiastically. Jake and I exchange a look. I can't believe that Marge is in charge of an entire hall of children. As soon as Mrs. Potts has left, Judy Briggs puts up her hand. Are you a child or a grown-up? She asks Marge. Everyone giggles again. Jake will explain, Marge replies. So Jakey stands up and politely tells the whole class that Marge is actually a very small grown-up, but that she is tall enough to reach the middle shelf of the fridge, the cheese shelf, which is all that matters. Jakey loves cheese as much as I love sticker books. Everyone nods in agreement. Let's begin class, Marge announces. She uses a very important voice. I am your temporary governess, so please line up while I hand out your musical instruments. Marge has found the big blue bucket in the corner filled with all the musical instruments, and she's standing by it proudly. As we make a line in front of Marge, I notice that some of the boys are taller than Marge, which makes me giggle. Marge closes her eyes and fishes into the bucket as if it was a lucky dip. There is a beat of silence before she says, voila, and she pulls out a clarinet. She hands it to Rosie Williams, who looks confused. But I play the violin, Rosie says as the rest of the class laughs. Marge thinks for a minute, Not today, you don't. Everyone should learn how to play as many instruments as they can. How else will you find the one that you like the most? I myself have 14 favourite instruments. There she is, handing out the clarinet to Rosie. I am as accomplished on the French horn as I am on the Scottish bagpipes. Marge fishes back into the bucket. Next, she calls. Judy is next in the queue and is given a guitar instead of her flute. Then it's Jakey's turn. Marge fishes into the bucket. She says with her eyes closed, and she pulls out a triangle. But I don't know how to play it, Jakey worries. And if I'm not very good on the recorder, I will be terrible on the triangle. Oh, nonsense, says Marge. Just listen to your heart and you will make wonderful music. Next. I am the next in the queue and Marge fishes out a trumpet. I love the sound that a trumpet makes, but I've never thought to play it before because I usually play the violin and no other girls in my year play a trumpet. Suddenly I feel quite excited to play a new instrument and I put my mouth around the end and I blow. Boing! A strange raspberry sound comes out. One by one, all the instruments get handed out until nearly everyone has an instrument that they have never played before. There is a small tug of war over the drums that is quickly resolved by Marge, deciding that all three boys can play them at the same time. A handful of the younger children haven't lined up for an instrument. We don't want to play anything, Mary Cooper complains. It's not fun. I'm going to make a special instrument just for you, Marge says cheerfully. Marge busies herself in the corner. She fills an empty jam jar with paper clips, pins and staples and makes a colourful shaker. Ooh, Mary looks thrilled as she makes a rattle sound with it. So we all help to make instruments for the other children without them. I find an empty coffee can and I make a drum. Judy manages to make a rain stick for Harrison's little brother. Marge finds some old bells, ties them to a piece of ribbon and hands them out. Soon, everyone is happy. Now we are ready for a concert, cries Marge. There they are, all with their instruments. Can you see them? Squeak, kapow, zing, ee, honk. They're all making music. I look over at Jake. He looks so happy as he dings the shiny metal triangle in time to the music. You all sound brilliant, Marge says enthusiastically. Let's share our wonderful music with the rest of the school. Marge flings open the door and leads the entire classroom along the corridor and out into the playground. Even though it sounds terrible, we are all having so much fun. I now understand why music makes you feel happy, even though I can't make anything but a raspberry sound come out of this trumpet. Rosie is playing her clarinet like it is a guitar, and Lucy is wearing a drum on her head. It's my drum hat, she says, and she bangs it, and it makes the funniest sound. Theo is playing the violin backwards, but you won't believe this. He's actually making a good noise. Jake is tinging his triangle proudly in time to the music, and Marge is singing like she's in the opera. Her voice is shaky and shrill like a lost goat on a mountaintop. We end up in the centre of the playground and we are making such a racket that all the other kids and teachers come out of their rooms and become an audience. At first, no one knows what to make of us, but soon the other kids start tapping their feet and clapping along, and the teachers find it impossible to disapprove as we are clearly having so much fun. Even Mrs. Turnbull, our strict science teacher, is nodding her head in time with the music, and some of the older kids are dancing. My cheeks are hurting from blowing and laughing. Everyone seems to love our crazy show. Look at them all having so much fun. The whole school is getting involved. I can't see Marge anywhere. Where is she? Then I hear a deep sound and turn around. Marge is wearing Jakey's roller skates and has strapped a tuba to her neck. The tuba is like a trumpet for a giant, and it is twice the size of her body. I have only seen an older girl called Martha play it once. Marge is blowing the tuba loudly and skating all around us. Oh no, Marge, you have gone too far, I think. She is twirling way too fast as she sails past me. Mr. Linden, our PE teacher, shouts, "Watch out," as Marge whizzes past him, but he is too late. Crash, bang, splash! Marge has lost her balance and fallen face down into a little fountain in the middle of the playground. There she is underneath the tuba, and she's in the fountain. And there's the teacher calling out, "Watch out!" Oh, Marge. We all can't stop giggling as Mrs. Potts arrives back to see Marge upside down in the fountain with her head stuck inside the tuba and just her little legs poking out. Everyone is laughing their heads off, but Jakey and I rush forward and we help Marge out of the water. Jake and Theo take hold of the tuba and I grab her little feet and try to pull her out of it. Then Rosie takes a hold of me and helps pull, and Lucy takes a hold of Rosie and pulls, and Jamie and Peter take a hold of Lucy, and before I know it, all the pupils have lined up and are pulling like a tug of war to get Marge free from the tuba. Can you see them all pulling? Pop! I think she popped out. Marge is free. We all fall down, but no one is hurt, and I'm relieved that Marge is okay, even if the tuba is a little wet. Well done, my fellow musicians, Marge praises us, and we end up in a big group hug. Just then, Mr. Siles, our headmaster, appears in the playground. "All right, everyone, come on, back to class," he says sternly. He raises an eyebrow at the sight of Marge, soaking wet, in a beret, holding a tuba. "Marge, it's time for lessons now," I explain. "Can I join your class?" she replies, running ahead to the classroom. We all head back inside and the morning passes quickly. I can tell that everyone is in a good mood after our concert in the playground. Even Mrs. Potts doesn't seem to mind about the tuba. And in maths, Mr. Bates gives us a prize for getting our answers right. I get the Star of the Day certificate and Marge wins 3 gold stickers. At break time, Marge gives Jake, Theo, Jamie and Peter roller skating lessons in the playground. Then in PE, Marge convinces Mr. Linden that all throwing and catching should be done to music. It turns out that I never miss the ball when I'm listening to Marge singing loudly, and for once, I really enjoy PE. In art, Marge suggests that we should finish our self-portraits blindfolded. I thought our art teacher, Mr. Brock, was going to lose his temper when Ella painted on Drew's sweater by accident, and James knocked over an entire pot of green paint. But by the end of class, even Mr. Brock agreed that everyone's portraits looked more unusual and that the exercise had unlocked our creativity. It's so much fun having Marge at school. Bing! Now it's time for lunch. We tidy up the art room and fetch our lunch boxes, ready to sit in our lunch circle. As I'm walking back to our classroom, Jakey pops up beside me. "Mrs. Potts said that I can join your class for lunch today because I was so well behaved in music rehearsals." I can tell that Jakey is excited to see our babysitter again, and when we walk through the door, we see that Marge is sitting in the middle of the floor. Jakey runs to give her a big hug. Our form teacher, Mr. Gale, looks a little surprised, but I don't think he minds. "Could you look after the children while I eat my lunch in the staff room?" he asks Marge. "Of course," Marge agrees, giving Jakey a big smile. As we sit down in a circle around her, Marge brings out a lunchbox and a giant spoon from her handbag. In the palace, we had an official food tester whose job was to make sure that nobody poisoned the king or the queen. She grins hopefully at us. Everyone is happy to share a bite of their lunch with Marge. 1 spoonful of Jack's jam sandwich, yum. 2 spoonfuls of Sarah's pasta, ooh, too cold. Half of Rosie's peanut butter and apple, tasty. All of Ellie's fresh fish fingers, delicious. Marge rubs her belly, In the palace after lunch, we always had a nap. A duchess can get very tired, you know, says Marge. Marge stretches and snuggles into the beanbag in our library corner, next to the tuba. Will you read me a book, she asks. Lucy and I run and get our favourite storybook, and Ellie gets a blanket from the cupboard. When Marge is tucked up, we read her a bedtime story. Jake is in charge of turning the pages and everybody joins in. We pass the book around the class and we all take it in turns to read a page. Once we have finished the story, Marge's eyes are closing. Can you leave the light on? Marge asks. I'm a bit scared of ghosts. Jakey rolls his eyes. There is no such thing as ghosts. Even I know that, and I'm only 4. He really is brilliant at the eye rolling. Yes, there are, Marge replies. She pulls her blanket off and covers her head with it. Ooh, she calls in a ghostly voice. Ooh. And you see her there, blanket over her head next to the tuba. Everyone in the class starts to giggle. Marge is so funny. It's me, Marge the Magnificent Ghost, she jokes. Then Marge yawns sleepily, cuddles up next to the tuba and promptly dozes off to sleep. When he gets back from lunch, Mr. Gale is very impressed at how quietly we're sitting in our lunch circle. He doesn't seem to notice that Marge is asleep in the corner, and we are only being quiet because we don't want to wake her up. I can't stop thinking about Marge for the rest of the day. I go from class to class wondering if Marge is still asleep or if she is up to some more mischief. I wish I could peek in on her and see if she's still asleep on the beanbag, but I don't have time and the day seems to whiz past so fast. Bing! That's the bell telling me that school has finished for the day. At the school gates, I find Mummy and Daddy and Jakey waiting for me. How was school, Jemima? Daddy asks. I played the trumpet today, I brag, and I didn't miss the ball once during throw and catch in PE. How were music rehearsals for you, Jakey? Mummy asks my little brother. She looks a little worried because he usually complains all the way home from school on Mondays. I loved music rehearsals, Jakey says happily. Marge taught me to play the triangle and Mrs. Potts said that because I like to play it so much, I can play it again next week. Marge was there a picture there? Let me see. Just a picture of little Jakey with his triangle. Marge was in school, Mummy asks, surprised. Marge was in school? At that moment, I hear a familiar sound and we all turn to look. Marge is walking out of the school with the tuba around her neck, playing a very loud tune. She gives us a big smile. I blew all the water out of it, Marge announces. Mrs. Potts said that I can join the school band too. I just need to practice a bit at home first. Marge says excitedly. Mummy and Daddy share a look as Jakey and I crack up laughing. Where's my horse and carriage to take us home? Marge says, innocently looking around. Very funny, Marge, Daddy replies, pointing to our old blue car. Then he flings open the back door, bows down very low, and he cries, Your carriage awaits, Your Royal Highness. I'm giggling because Marge seems to bring out the funny side in everyone. Merci, Merci, replies Marge in a posh voice. That is French for thank you, she explains as we all bundle inside. I can't help smiling all the way home. There she is, blowing her tuba. Jake and I cuddle up with Marge on the back seat, and Mum and Dad ask us questions about our day. Who would have thought that our babysitter would need picking up from school too? Marge definitely isn't an ordinary grown-up, but to me, she is the best babysitter in the whole world. And that's the end of today's story. There they are, all heading off home in the little blue car. I hope you liked that story of Marge in Charge. I thought it was really fun. And I hope you are all having a wonderful day and that you had a wonderful Easter and got lots and lots of Easter eggs and lots of fun things to do. Anyway, I love you all, my little darlings. I love you so much. I hope you like Grandma's YouTube today. Give me a thumbs up and I will hopefully see you again soon.